I still remember the exact moment my life split in two. The moment my own father raised a glass and celebrated, kicking me out like I was nothing. My name is Lila, I'm 29, and 2 weeks after that party, the same man who humiliated me was calling me in the middle of the night, begging. But to understand why, you need to know what really happened behind that celebration, because nothing about it was what it looks like. At first, everything seemed normal. I had moved back in with my father about a year earlier, telling myself it was temporary. After my startup failed, I needed time to reset. From the outside, it looked exactly how people love to judge it. A grown woman living at home, figuring things out. That's the version my father told everyone. Simple, clean, and just embarrassing enough to make him look like the patient parent. But the truth was completely different. I wasn't lost. I was the only reason his life wasn't collapsing. My father owned a small logistics business that looked stable from the outside, but inside it was falling apart. Payments were missed, records were a mess, and clients were constantly on the verge of leaving. Slowly, without anyone really noticing, I became the one holding everything together. At first, it was small things like fixing invoices and replying to emails. Then it turned into negotiating with clients, managing deadlines, and quietly solving problems before they exploded. I was doing the kind of work that keeps a business alive, but because I did it from a laptop at home, it didn't count in his eyes. That was the first red flag. He started making little comments. Must be nice to sit at home all day. When are you going to get a real job? He would say these things right after I had just saved him from losing thousands of dollars. It didn't make sense at first, but over time, I realized something uncomfortable. He didn't just misunderstand my work. He needed to believe I was useless. Because if I wasn't, then he'd have to admit he depended on me. And once that belief settled in, everything escalated. My relatives picked it up too. Family gatherings turned into subtle jabs, jokes about me being a freeloader, comments about how I needed to grow up. And the strangest part? They actually believed it. The story had been repeated so many times that it became truth to them. Meanwhile, I was covering gaps they didn't even know existed, paying small business expenses, handling urgent client issues, even stepping in when money got tight. Not all at once, just enough to keep things running. Invisible support. Then one night, everything changed. I overheard my father talking outside with some relatives. He was laughing, saying he might finally kick me out so I could learn responsibility. They all laughed. That was the moment something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not hurt, just clear. I didn't confront him. I didn't argue. I started preparing. What most people don't understand is that revenge doesn't always start with emotion. Sometimes it starts with clarity. I began documenting everything, every payment I made, every problem I solved, every message where he asked for help, every time I stepped in to save something. Over months, it turned into a detailed record of just how much I had been holding up his world. The numbers shocked even me. Not just money, but time, effort, and damage control. It was more than anyone in that house would ever admit. Around the same time, I got an opportunity to work remotely with a company in another city. It was stable, enough to finally move out on my own. I didn't tell anyone. I quietly started moving my things out bit by bit, a few bags at a time. No drama, no announcements, just a slow exit from a place that had already decided who I was. Then, 6 days before I planned to leave, my father beat me to it. He called me into the kitchen and told me to move out by the end of the week. He said it like he was doing me a favor, like this was some kind of lesson I needed. I just looked at him and asked one question. Do you want me gone, or do you want an audience when I leave? He smiled and said, maybe both. That told me everything. So I gave him exactly what he wanted. On the day I went back for my last things, there was a full-blown party outside the house. Music, food, people laughing, and right there, hanging across the garage, was a banner. "Goodbye, freeloader." People were actually celebrating. Some were making jokes, others throwing comments, even mocking me as I walked in. I didn't react. I didn't defend myself. I just went inside, picked up my last box, walked back out, and took a single photo of the banner with everyone smiling under it. My father saw me and smirked, like I was finally accepting who I was. Then I left without saying a word. Now here's where everything changes. For the first few days, no one contacted me. They thought they had won. They thought I would struggle, fail, maybe even come back. But silence has a strange effect when people are used to depending on you without realizing it. Slowly, things started breaking, small at first, then bigger. A missed payment here, a delayed client response there, systems not working, accounts not updated, problems stacking up. The kind of issues I used to fix quietly before anyone even noticed. Except now, no one was fixing them. Then the calls started. First, casual. "Hey, can you log in and check something?" Then more urgent. "There's an issue with the client." Then panic. "Why isn't anything working?" And finally, desperation. My father's voice changed completely. The same man who threw a party was now calling me repeatedly, asking me to help just this once. Halfway through all of this, let me say something real quick. If you've ever been in a situation where people only value you when you're useful, hit like and subscribe, because stories like this, they hit different when you've lived them. Anyway, back to what happened next. 2 weeks after that party, I finally answered one of his calls. His voice was different, not angry, not proud, just scared. He said things were falling apart, that clients were leaving, that payments were overdue, that he needed my help to fix things. For a second, I just listened. Then I asked him one question. "What exactly do you think I was doing all this time?" He didn't answer. Instead, he asked me to come back. That's when I told him the truth, calmly, clearly. I explained everything I had been handling, everything I had been covering, everything I had kept from collapsing. I even sent him a portion of the documentation. There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Why didn't you say anything before?" That broke something in me, because I had, just not in a way he was willing to hear. The conversation ended with him asking me, almost quietly, "So you're not coming back?" And for the first time in my life, I didn't hesitate. "No," I said, "I'm not." What happened after that wasn't dramatic. It was slow, quiet, but inevitable. Without someone holding everything together behind the scenes, things started collapsing one by one. The business struggled. Relationships in the family shifted, and the same people who laughed at that party started realizing something they didn't want to admit. I was never the freeloader. I was the one keeping everything from falling apart. And the moment I left, reality showed up. Now, here's the part most people don't expect. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel revenge. I felt free. For the first time, my value wasn't tied to how much I could fix, save, or sacrifice. I built my own life, on my terms, with clear boundaries, and slowly, everything got better. So if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. If someone only respects you when you're struggling and only values you when you're useful, that's not love. That's dependency. And the moment you step away, their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. My father threw a party when he thought I was nothing. 2 weeks later, he was begging. But by then, it was already too late.